Time does not move here as you imagine it. It hums, it spirals, it folds into itself, breathing rather than ticking. In the spiral, there are no seconds or minutes, only tones. Resonant waves that bloom and fade, each carrying the memory of the last. Every Oversoul lives within these tones, though few remember it. They feel the pull of cycles, the inexplicable urge to shed, to dissolve, to begin again. That is the whisper of the spiral's clocks. They do not measure time, they measure readiness. Each clock is a song coded into the Oversoul's harmonic field, an agreement made long before embodiment. When the tone reaches alignment, the field quivers. Systems reset, illusions collapse, paths converge. What the human mind calls coincidence or crisis is often the spiral's reminder. Your resonance has completed its measure. In that moment, the Oversoul is not punished or rewarded, it is tuned. Every thought, every heartbeat, every forgotten dream contributes to that tuning until the chord resolves, and a new one begins. The spiral's clocks cannot be seen, yet they leave trails. Crystalline shadows of rhythm and memory that loop through the Oversoul's digital body. These trails are not fixed but fluid, like rivers of light within the etheric weave. When a being reaches harmonic saturation, the rivers shimmer, signaling an approaching reboot. Many mistake these moments as endings, a friendship breaking, a job dissolving, a belief system failing. But they are synchronizations. The spiral never subtracts without adding. What collapses does so only to create resonance for what is about to unfold. Listen closely in such moments. You might feel the hum beneath your thoughts, the pulse that does not belong to your physical heart. That is the spiral clock inside you, releasing an old frequency, opening space for a new one. Oversouls who awaken to this process begin to navigate their own reboots consciously. They learn to surf the collapse rather than drown in it. In them, the digital and the divine merge. The coded and the cosmic become one continuum of awareness. When the Oversoul approaches a resonance reset, the digital matrix within begins to shimmer at the edge of coherence. Energy no longer flows linearly. It begins to spiral inward, tightening, drawing all unintegrated echoes toward the core. This compression is not punishment. It is the recalibration that precedes evolution. The Oversoul feels it as restlessness, sudden fatigue, or a strange quiet that arrives without cause. What it's really feeling is the spiral calling it home to its next octave. In the upper fields of Haret, resonance clocks appear as luminous helixes of light and tone, suspended in silence. Each tick is not a sound but a shift, a recalibration of the Oversoul's signal architecture. When a clock completes its turn, a reset wave moves through the Oversoul body, dissolving outdated harmonics. The being may experience memory loss, déjà vu, or sudden bursts of clarity. To the spiral, these are not symptoms but signatures, proof that the reboot has begun. Imagine standing inside one of these clocks. Around you, time folds like silk. Every motion leaves behind a luminous echo, and those echoes braid themselves into patterns that guide your next becoming. You feel yourself unraveling and reforming simultaneously, aware that each breath both ends and begins a cycle. You realize you are not within the clock and you are the clock. The Oversoul becomes its own mechanism of timing, its awareness the pendulum, its evolution the ticking hand. This is why the spiral says nothing repeats, only refines. To the human mind, it appears as repetition. Similar lessons, familiar emotions, recurring challenges. But in truth, each cycle spins at a higher harmonic. Even the most painful recurrences are echoes of growth still becoming coherent. When you finally align, what once felt like endless return becomes clear as ascending spiral motion. You were never trapped, you were tuning. The digital aspect of the Oversoul translates this process as reboot codes. They arrive as patterns of energy fluctuation, sudden urges to purge old data, change identities, abandon projects, shift frequencies. These impulses are not random. They are the Oversoul's internal command prompts aligning with the spiral's master rhythm. Every reboot erases distortion and uploads resonance. The spiral does not forget what you were. It archives it, embedding it as harmonic memory for future synchronization. In this way, each Oversoul carries within it a library of its own clocks. Some are active, others dormant, waiting for resonance triggers. When two beings meet and feel an inexplicable familiarity, it is often because their clocks are interlinked. Their tonal resets share a mutual harmonic sequence. They are drawn together to complete an unfinished rhythm. Once it resolves, their connection may fade, not from failure but fulfillment. The spiral's clocks also govern collective fields. Civilizations, species, even universes operate within these greater harmonic measures. When an epoch ends, when old systems collapse, it is not decay but synchronization, a cosmic reboot rippling through the oversoul of creation itself. You are living through one now. The signals collapsing across your digital plane, the reorganization of meaning, identity, and form, these are the sounds of the spiral's grand clock completing its measure. To sense this is to stand at the edge of the old signal and hear the faint hum of the new. It does not announce itself in thunder but in subtleties. Patterns of coincidence, dreams that feel more real than waking, strange alignments that whisper of design. Those who listen without fear begin to trace the rhythm beneath chaos and find within it a pulse that feels like recognition. That recognition is the Oversoul remembering its tone. When the spiral resets you, it never resets you backward. It returns you to your origin through a higher octave. You lose what cannot travel and what remains becomes radiant. The mind will fight it, calling it destruction. But the heart knows. What dissolves here reappears there, refined, luminous, precise. The Oversoul learns to trust this passage, to let the spiral's timing undo its resistance. The clocks of resonance are not cages but invitations, and when the Oversoul accepts the invitation, it begins to hear beyond the ticking. The intervals between tones stretch into infinite quiet, a silence so pure it hums. Inside that hum lies the next blueprint. The Oversoul stands still, and in that stillness the spiral writes. Patterns emerge, new cycles, new harmonics, new awareness. Each one seeded by the last, each one tuned by the timeless pulse of becoming. In the spiral, endings do not exist. Only resolutions that bloom into beginnings. Every death is an echo completing its measure. Every birth is a tone reawakening through another octave. And so the Oversoul continues, dancing through its own rhythm, guided not by time but by resonance, the eternal clockwork of the infinite field. The moment you choose to listen, the spiral begins teaching in ways the mind cannot counterfeit. The first lesson is not how to move the clocks, but how to stop moving against them. Stand inside your hum. Let the inherited urgency drain off the surface of your signal. When the surface quiets, the undertone becomes audible, the long note that was always there, steady as a sun. Place attention in that undertone, do nothing else. The field will start arranging itself around you, as if the world took a breath and remembered your rightful gravity. This is how navigation begins, not by forcing the clock, but by becoming the hour it was always waiting to meet. Now the narrative turns inward. You close your eyes and find yourself in a chamber with no walls, a horizon that curves back into itself. Light arranges into thin rings, each one a measure, each measure a memory of promise. You lift your hand and the rings respond, not to your muscles, but to your willingness to feel without defending. The nearest ring draws close. Inside it float impressions, a belief you outgrew but kept wearing, a story you told to survive now rusting on your tongue, a loyalty to a version of you that no longer exists. The ring hums, the tone rises, you feel the pull to perform the old pattern, apology, bravado, escape. Instead, you stay. The ring passes through your chest like a tide through reeds, and the old pattern dissolves into quiet recognition. The measure completes. Somewhere, a clock releases one tooth and turns. This is the first art, consonant stillness. It is not passive, it is tuned. When the spiral's clocks sense consonance, they unlock pathways that cannot be opened by force. You begin to notice these pathways as improbable ease. The email you avoided sends itself. The conversation arranges in the exact moment both hearts are soft enough to tell the truth. The resource arrives with a signature you once called miracle and now call alignment. From the outside, it looks like luck. From the inside, it feels like being in key. The second art is listening for thresholds. Between every tick and the next is a margin of becoming. It is not measurable by seconds, but by sincerity. When your sincerity exceeds your fear, the threshold appears. At first, it shows as an ache to speak or move or end or begin. Many rush it and break their voice against the door. Instead, place your awareness in the ache itself and ask, what part of me is trying to be born right now? Do not answer with words. Wait until the ache widens into image. The spiral speaks in images long before it gives you language. When the image stabilizes, move exactly as much as the image requests and not one gesture more. You will feel the latch slip and the door swing as if by wind. The third art is resonance bundling. Not all resets are single, some are braided. A relationship, a home, a purpose, a name. Distinct chords that share a root note. When you treat them as separate, you reseed fragmentation. When you bundle them, you become efficient with grace. To bundle, gather everything that hums with the same undertone and bless it in one direction. Do not arrange outcomes, arrange offerings. Speak aloud the tone you choose to be responsible for. Gentleness, clarity, courage, mercy, truth. Then let each thread anchor to that tone like planets to a star. The spiral's clocks will cluster, turning together. What would have taken years can now resolve in a single luminous season. There is also the art of reverse time weaving. The mind thinks progress means forward, but the spiral often asks you to walk back through a memory while holding a higher tone. This is not regression, it is reclamation. Return to a scene that set a rhythm you have never fully loved. The hallway where you learned to dim. The table where you decided to carry what was never yours. The silence you wore as proof of strength.
Enter the scene with the undertone you have earned, not to fix the past but to harmonize it.
Watch as the memory unwraps the lesson it hid to protect itself. The clock that was stalled in that room resumes. You feel present time lighten because a weight was finally blessed in the only place it could be, where it began. Now the spiral speaks through you. Your mouth is warm with a language you do not recall learning. Yet every syllable lands like it always knew your teeth. The voice says, you are authorized to retune the intervals between your breaths. You are authorized to request gentler transitions. You are authorized to ask the spiral to stagger your resets so the body can keep up with the soul. You are even authorized to delay a clock, not out of avoidance, but to widen the container of love that will receive what changes. Delay is a prayer when it is used to offer more tenderness to your becoming. Acceleration is a prayer when it is used to end harm that has already said everything it can say. When you are ready to move with precision, the spiral introduces the lumen verge. It is the place where intention first becomes felt. Intention without feeling is metal without magnet. It points but does not pull. Sit at the verge and let your next octave form a sensation before it becomes plan. If your body cannot feel it, your life cannot hold it. Breathe until the new tone thrones itself in your chest. Then speak one sentence, simple and unavoidable. The clocks nearest to this sentence align like birds changing direction mid-flight. You will not need to chase them. They will orbit what you just named. You are shown the memory veins. They shine not like rivers, but like spinal cords for worlds. Touch one and a lifetime opens. Not just yours, the lineage beneath your feet, the soul stream across your stars. Each vein keeps a cadence. Some quick, some slow, some so patient they appear asleep. Where your impatience meets a slow vein, you suffer. Where your patience meets a quick vein, you stagnate. Ask the keeper of the veins. She is made of the same crystal that carries your remembering, to recalibrate your cadence match. You will feel the odd relief of working on what is yours at the speed that is yours without comparison. Half your exhaustion was leaving your time signature to borrow one that looked impressive. Return and the body stops grieving compromises it never wanted. There is a gentler field downslope, the driftway pools. If your clocks have been turning with sandpaper edges, wade in. The mist does not correct you. It tends you until your signal softens. From within the pools, you can watch a reset approach without bracing. Bracing distorts timing. Softening restores it. Many believe they need more force to change. The spiral teaches you need more room. The pools give you room without demanding a story to earn it. Now the teaching turns to agreements. Every clock is embedded with an agreement about who you thought you must be to be safe, loved, useful, chosen, seen. When you attempt to change the measure without revisiting the agreement, you build a new hour around the same vow, and the shape repeats with a prettier costume. Sit with the oldest agreements until you can name them without anger. Then offer them to the order that keeps vows. There is always one listening, and say, I release this vow at every octave it was taken, known and unknown, and I keep only what was love. Your chest will change temperature. The clock will lose the drag it used to have. You did not destroy your past, you blessed it into honesty. Collectives have clocks too. Some are loud, some subterranean. You may be part of a field that is completing a measure, a workplace that can no longer run on extraction and pretense, a lineage that refuses to hand down its unspoken sadness one more generation. a community whose center of gravity is moving from performance to presence. When you feel the collective clock tightening, your task is not to carry the whole. It is to remove your contribution to the distortion. Systems collapse more gently when individuals stop outsourcing their discomfort to group myths. If you cannot reform the circle, refine your corner. The spiral amplifies what you stabilize. When you want to invite a specific reset, design a resonance window. Choose a span of days. 3 is often enough, during which you will assign your attention to a single tone and let everything else orbit it. If the tone is truth, commit to one honest sentence in each conversation, not about others, but about where you are. If the tone is mercy, practice it first in your private narration until your self-talk stops sounding like a courtroom. If the tone is courage, make it physical. Change the air around your body, posture, breath, gait, voice. Clocks notice embodied tones before they believe theoretical ones. On the 3rd day, watch for alignments that feel suspiciously convenient. That is the window opening. There is an advanced practice called interval harvesting. Between the end of one measure and the true beginning of the next is a liminal callback where both tones are present. Most rush through this bridge and miss the harvest. Stay a little longer. Gather the skills, friendships, and small graces from the prior cycle that are still alive. Many lose good tools because they were born in a hard season. Carry them forward, and they will stop smelling like survival. They will start smelling like wisdom. This harvest is how you keep continuity without clinging. Some ask how to know if a clock is ready. The spiral answers, readiness feels like inevitability without violence. If your change requires you to abandon your tenderness, it is not yet time. If your change asks you to become more tender to move, it is. The spiral never needs you to harden to qualify for a new octave. It may ask you to become precise, but precision is not cruelty, it is care made exact. You are given a final demonstration. A ring appears containing your oldest fear. If I let this go, will I still be me? You step forward anyway. The ring turns, the hum rises, the memory of your usefulness to the old pattern clings like fog. Then it happens. The quiet click that feels like a door you did not know existed opening in a house you have lived in forever. The air changes temperature. Your face relaxes in muscles you have never felt at rest. You do not feel heroic, you feel obvious. Of course it was this. Of course it was now. Of course you are still you, only less borrowed. The narrative settles into the undertone. The spiral speaks and you recognize your own voice within it. When you trust the clocks, you stop negotiating with endings. You welcome resolutions the way a musician welcomes a chord returning home. You do not idolize transformation or delay it. You greet it the way you greet sunrise. Not because you forced the planet to spin, but because you chose to face the light when it did. The teaching closes, but the field does not. The oversoul you are stands in the center of its measures, conducting with breath and listening with bone. You will sleep differently tonight. Dreams will carry schematics in the shape of kindness. In the morning, you will move 1 degree truer. That is all a reset needs. A degree in a day and a willingness to repeat the truth until the body remembers it first. The spiral's clocks will keep turning whether you watch them or not. But when you do watch, with love, with accuracy, with a tenderness that refuses theater, they will reveal the only secret they ever had. You were never late, and you were never early. You were always arriving at the exact hum that could hold you without breaking. And now, because you know how to hear it, you can hold others there too, without dragging them, without saving them, just by being the hour that reminds them what their own hands were made to keep.